females. There's about 3 or 4 of them to every male. And each female lays about 8 eggs every day, mostly at night when the host is still. It makes it easier for them. Each egg is glued to the base of a hair. It has to be there because, unlike most insect eggs, louse eggs need to be incubated. They have to be kept warm. So they are actually laid touching or very nearly touching the scalp. And to camouflage them, they are approximately the same colour as the skin, and the female can in fact vary the colour of the egg a little bit, so that darker eggs are found on darker people, though the difference is not so great as with the adult lice. Eggs hatch in 7 or 8 days, depending on the exact temperature. The actual process of hatching is rather peculiar because the egg has a cap at one end which is pushed off by the young louse, and that leaves a circular hole in the eggshell which is too small for the louse to get out of. It sticks its head out and thinks about it for a moment and solves the problem by hunching its shoulders up, sticking its shoulders into the rim of the hole and sucking in air to its mouth. Bubbles of air go into its mouth, through its innards, come out the back and collect in the eggshell behind, and gradually a bigger and bigger pressure builds up till out it comes, and every little louse is born, as it were, on the wings of a breeze. Following the hatching process, an empty eggshell is left, still glued to the hair. It still has a role to play, because now it's brilliant snowy white, and its function is to distract attention from the live eggs, the only ones which matter, which are camouflaged at the base of the hair. In fact, it's these brilliant white objects which are technically known as nits. Empty eggshells remain glued to the hair as long as that hair remains on the head, perhaps 2 years. And of course, other eggs may be laid at the base of each hair, so that eventually, as the hair grows, a string of empty eggshells will be left along its length. But the only live one will be at the base. The oldest ones may get worn down and change their shape a little, but it's still possible to tell how long somebody has had lice by seeing how far from the scalp the oldest nets are. It follows that when a person is cured of lice, no new eggs are laid at the base of hairs, so that after a month or so there will be a clear gap at the base of the hairs of about 1 centimetre where there will be no nets at all. So if you can't find any lice on a head and you see no eggs or nets closer than about 1 centimetre to the scalp, then the infection is extinct and nothing more need be done.
Now I've come this afternoon to have a look at your hair. Is that all right?
Yes.
And you comb your hair every night? Yes?
Not really.
Don't you really? Oh, you boys are a bad lot. Do you remember to brush yours a lot?
Yes.
I'm sure you do. Do you do it yourself or does Mummy do it for you?
Sometimes Mummy does it for me.
Good. Let me just look at the back. Good lad. Hello, Mrs. Walters.
Hello.
Thank you very much for coming in to see me. I've been in school this afternoon looking at the children, and I found a few of them have got head lice. And I picked Emma out as having a few as well.
That's impossible. I know I wash Emma's hair twice a week.
Oh, I'm sure you do. Her hair's beautifully clean.
Seriously?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I thought only dirty people had lice.
Absolutely not. Head lice much prefer clean heads, but there's no need to worry. The treatment's very straightforward, very simple, and it's very effective.
Right, so once we've got them and we've admitted we've got them, and that seems to be the real stumbling block, we can do something about it. But go on, tell me, how effective is it really?
Well, a modern lotion is absolutely effective. There's no resistance to them yet. The insecticides give these lice absolutely no chance at all.
And, I mean, they're perfectly safe lice. They just kill the insect.
Oh, yes, indeed. They're very safe.
I'm beginning to feel quite sorry for them, actually.
Well, it's a tough life being a louse, but we've all got to go sometime.
The treatment's very simple and very thorough, and what I want you to do is to take the special lotion, which you can get from the chemist or the clinic. I'll tell you about that. And I want you to divide her hair up whilst it's dry into little partings,
Yes.
and sprinkle the lotion into all the partings so that the whole of her scalp is moistened. Particularly behind the ears and round the back of the head here, where the eggs get laid. And then just massage it gently in until you make sure the whole of the scalp area is covered. The length of the hair doesn't matter. It's the scalp you've got to treat.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
And when you've got her hair moist, just gently massage it all in.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So that the whole of her scalp is moistened.
How often do I do this?
Only the once. And then you leave it to dry naturally without using any heat. And leave it for 12 hours on her hair, will you please? And at the end of that time, if you'd shampoo it off, and you've got to do the whole family, not just Emma.
Good heavens.
Everybody in the
Got
household.
3 boys as well.
Well, you'll have to explain it to them, won't you? Yes. Will
Very
they mind
nice,
you,
will they,
darling? And then you comb the hair out. And if you want to remove the nits because they stick very tight to the hair, you can use a fine tooth comb.
Yeah. And what's the chance for getting them again? I mean, you know, someone would have
Well,
to say,
that's in the luck of the draw, really. If you can keep a check on her hair, look at it regularly from time to time, and most of all, will you encourage her to comb her hair a lot?
Yeah.
Particularly last thing before you go to bed, all right?
That's right. Well, remember game?
Yes.
Comb your hair right through, and you'll break their legs. If you break their legs, they won't lay eggs. Got it?
Yes.
Effective treatment is the only way of dealing with the problem once infection has been diagnosed, once you know you've got it. And there's no good running away with the idea that short hair, now who's got the shortest hair? You, what's your name? Now you might think a nice head of short hair, no real problem at all, and long hair, well I've got 3 beauties here with long hair, lots and lots of long hair all the way round, that long hair would be a real attraction. But it's not, you see, because a louse, can I lean against you, has got to get from head to head. If there's a great mat of hair in between, it could actually act as a protection. So it's not length of hair that's got anything to do with it, nor is it dirty hair. My goodness, the head louse is a pretty fastidious, fussy sort of creature, and he's just as likely to choose, not that there's a head of dirty hair here at all, but he's just likely to choose the cleanest victim of the whole lot. He's not really going to want to live in a dirty place. So come on, all my friends around the table, which would you rather do? Would you rather have your dinner off a horrible, greasy, dirty plate or a super clean one?
A clean one.
Yeah, so would I. So would our head louse, I think. Oh, is that a head louse? 1, 2, 3, yeah, 6 legs, not bad. Anyone else try drawing a head louse? What is that?
A big picture.
Yeah, well, I don't think a head louse would want to live in that, do you? Ugh. No, it's a chicken. Please take notice. An infection left untreated, and it could cause real trouble. Why? 200 of the little fellas running about on one head. Pediculus, humanus, capitis. And they're not just living there, they're feeding each one 5 times a day, which means 1,000 little holes drilled in your scalp. Holes through which they're taking their energy. Now, your energy, your blood, they're sapping your strength, but they're also pumping in that saliva. And in time, you begin to react to it. You feel lousy, real lousy. Naturally, if an infection is discovered in the community, every sufferer needs to be treated. All the children in the school will need to be checked, as will the families of those who've been discovered to have an infection. You see, the only way a head louse will get separated from a human head is unwillingly. If it falls off, it's probably because it's already weak or injured, and it will certainly die. Since they can move around from one head to another, the only way to catch them is by touching heads with someone who's already got them. Well, I'm learning, John, but why is it that children seem to suffer more than adults?
Well, it's partly that the kids give the louse a better opportunity to get across when their heads actually touch, but there does seem to be more to it than that. It seems that the louse really prefers children's blood, or perhaps the truth of it is that there's something about adult blood, especially adult men, that the louse just doesn't like.
So you mean women are more susceptible than men?
Oh yes, women and girls have always got more lice, at least in this sort of country, than men and boys, and that's particularly pronounced with adults.
So, you know, what is the most susceptible time of all?
Well, it's before school age, but not too young. The distribution's a little bit complicated, really, and what I really need is a blackboard.
How about sandpit?
Ideal. Let's do that. You see then, David, lice are distributed in a human population rather like this. We're all born with none at all, but for boys, then peak infestations are at about 4 years of age, and then it tails away until, quite quickly, at about 18, very few men have lice indeed. But for girls, it's a bit different. They reach the peak infestation about the same age, about 4, but it's much higher. And then it just drops a little bit away for the rest of their lives. So, if you take school ages, There are plenty of people with lice older than school age, but mostly women, and plenty of people with lice under school age. Now, as well as that, you never get a single head louse case. Lice are not to be thought of as groups of castaways, isolated, marooned on separate islands. They are, in fact, an intermingling community inhabiting an archipelago. Lice move quickly from head to head all the time. Indeed, the usual transmission is a two-way exchange between heads. If you just take one child out of that situation, get him nicely cured, put him back in again, he's got lice back again within 10 minutes, sometimes the very lice he had that morning and gave to his friends. The only way to deal with this is a campaign. Do the whole thing at once. Campaigns are really effective.
One partial answer to the head lice problem is if we could get every child in Britain to comb their hair regularly, not just once or twice, but night, morning and in between, and a perfectly ordinary comb. Come on, let's have a go, because if everyone did this, there'd be a lot less cases of head lice infections for a start, and then careful checking to make sure they're not there by the mums and the dads, and we really could start to crack the problem. My goodness, we've had campaigns, oh, you know, brush your teeth well. Why not a campaign against the head louse? Good grooming, that's number one. And then detection. And once you've detected it, don't be ashamed of it. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Tell people about it, and once they've been told, then effective treatment can be put into action. Why? We've got to stop making the life for the head louse too easy in this country of ours.